Okay, guys. Welcome to this evening session of our class. Earlier today, we started a class, but then we had a network problem, so then we pushed the class to the evening. So earlier today, we talked about some important things, especially when it comes to using content on our website. So we introduced some of the content delivery networks that we have nowadays. We have Bootstrap, we have Google Fonts, so we connected to Bootstrap to be able to use Bootstrap grading system, and we also connected to Google Fonts to be able to use our fonts. Remember the two fonts we selected during the class time? We talked about Rallyway and Poppins. So we installed those fonts on our computer, and we're able to use those two fonts to design our UI. Okay. So we were also able to connect to Google Font to use them. So if you look here in the link, if you look here in the heading here, we already have that link that connects to Google Font. And we also supposed to connect to Font Awesome. So we'll be doing that before we begin the class today. So if you have any question whatsoever relating to the layout, relating to the CDM we talk about, and the things we talk about during the evening session, if you have any question, please, you can just, unmute yourself, you ask your questions so that we can address your question. At least for 5 minutes, we can entertain your question. All right, so if you have no question, then let's proceed. So now, if we refresh this page in our browser, this is the page. Yup,
Yeah, before?
yes.
Yeah, please, because of a network issue, I was not really following along. So, I know before we go further, if you can just, even though you tried doing it, but if we can maybe go over what we did this morning or this afternoon.
To go to go over them.
Yeah, more especially with the bootstrap, working with bootstrap.
Okay, with the bootstrap.
Yeah, now I'm getting understand. Yeah, now I'm
Okay,
getting understand the RD.
okay,
RD. Yeah, you just select the more especially the RD or the classic.
okay. All right, so we connected to Bootstrap CDN. All right, and we'll be using Bootstrap to do our layout. You know, there's a difference between the ID selector and the class selector. All right, so the ID selector is more specific than the class selector. For the class selector, you can construct more than one classes, in your project. So, for example, if you look here in the home page, with all these sessions that we have here, you notice that we constructed ID for each and every one of them, right? So we have this unique ID, all right? So establish, that kind of understanding, let's say that kind of, constructing IDs on your page, all right? So when you, for example, we have the hero session, we only constructed the hero session once, right here, where we have the hero session here, we put here hero. And then inside of the hero session, we have a couple of other classes. So we'll be looking at the ID and the class selection more in CSS styling. All right, so we'll cover that. All right.
So yeah, please.
Yeah.
Is the RD you specify there or we how to call it created? Is it from Bootstrap or from
No.
ourselves? The
Yeah,
RD.
for ourselves. For ourselves. We want to
Yeah, you
establish.
saying yeah, you saying something about
Yeah.
yeah, how you say something about Bootstrap
Uh-huh.
RD, Bootstrap have unique RD, right?
If I say Bootstrap have what?
Bootstrap have it's unique RD or class.
No, I'm not saying. I said CSS has its own unique, ID. There are two selectors, right? We talk about ID selectors and we talk about class selector. I know you have read about
Yeah.
them. but then we are using Bootstrap
Mm-hmm.
to do our layout, right? So all these IDs that we selected here, we
Mm-hmm.
constructed here, they are not coming from Bootstrap.
Yeah.
Bootstrap has nothing to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
We ourselves constructed them. However, there are some classes here that reflect or relate to Bootstrap. For example, in our uh, hero session,
Good session.
here we have what? Inside of the hero session, we have the nav bar. Okay, meaning the nav bar. So inside of the nav bar, you see the nav bar here, where you have the opening tag of the nav bar. We got a class called navbar expand, navbar dash expand LG. So all these classes,
Okay.
they are referring to Bootstrap. So we are accessing these classes because of the link we have here, the Bootstrap CSS here, this link. So we are connecting to their CDN. So you understand that one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so all these IDs that we constructed here, they got nothing to do with Bootstrap. So I
Bootstrap.
think I answered your question, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so all right, guys. So if you look here in our browser, we have this is what we have done so far. So we are going to let me zoom in on the home page that we have here in our okay. So we are going to design our page with the same styling. So you see here from the from this writing, from this text to the nav bar here, we have enough space here. See the space? So we got a lot of space here. And also we have a space here from the image to the nav bar. So let me show we create a space. So if you come here inside of our in the browser, we don't have that space. And how do we create that space? There are so many ways we can create a space. One way is to reach for the hero session, like the way we have it inside of the styling here, is to reach for the hero session and give it more padding. But then it will not be good because the padding will be applied from the top to the bottom. So we'll have more space at the top. So if you look here in the browser, what we really want to apply that space is between the navigation bar, the lower section of the navigation bar, and the text and the image here. So to do that, we have to give the continuing div. Let's go back into the HTML here. Under the hero section, we come here and under the for the hero section here, you see the comment that we put here. So for the hero section here, we expand the hero section inside here, right? So inside of the container here, this is what we have the two divs. We already explained that. I don't know if you were in the class or you watched the video later, but we really explain that in depth. We talk about nested div, right? Inside the nested div, we have two divs. So the main div, which is this container, is the containing div, and we are using a Bootstrap class called container. There are two classes here. We have container fluid and we have container. All right, so we are using container. So container, if we use container, it was able to construct this styling that we have here. You see the nav bar, it created a space from the edge of the browser to the nav bar here. So we're able to have this space by let's say by using the container class, right? So to be able to use that same container class to create the space here, we go back to the editor, and then inside here we create a custom class. So remember, inside the custom class, we can say uh we can say right? We say uh hero content. Mhm. Then the hero dash content, all right? And we have hero dash content here. So we grab this class, we copy this class, and then we go to our styling. So we apply the styling under the hero